Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere.
Great morning, great morning, great morning, precious people. This is L. Spencer Smith right here on another edition of the Culture Call. That's right, on Praise 93.3 FM. It is the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. Yes, absolutely. We've gone global. And for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit, yes, about everything from education to economics, society to sports, and from religion to relationships. And we are here always, as we say, to create a safe space to have empowering and provocative conversations. You know how we do it here on the Culture Call. And guess what? You can call in and chat it up with me as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. Shout out to all of you who have been hitting me up on my social media and in the email and in my DMs, all that kind of stuff. Let me know how you're enjoying the show. You see me out in the street and you don't walk past me. You come up and say, "Aren't you?" And I say, "Yes, I'm him." And you tell me that you're listening. So I really, really appreciate it. Listen, I want all of you to go ahead to your smart device, your smartphone, your Apple or your Android, and go to your store and download Praise 93.3 FM. That's right. Download that app. It's free. You can do it. Download it. Doesn't cost a thing. And you can listen to us from all around the world. It really doesn't matter where you are. Yeah, we provided an opportunity for you to hear the Culture Call and Praise 93.3 all around the world. Yeah. And also, you know, I want to be your marketing man, your PR man. I have a megaphone. And I want to let everybody know what's going on in your neck of the woods. Yeah, but you've got to email me your public service announcements or your events at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to let Lottie, Dottie, Potty, Soddy, whoever, and everybody know what's going on in your church, your organization, your fraternity, your sorority, whatever you're doing. I want to increase traffic where you are. You know why? Because we do it better when we do it together. And of course, because I know you got your sticky notes already. Go ahead and write this number down, 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. And you can call in and you can be a part of the show. Man, I don't know how many of you all were paying attention to Brother Jay this morning, but he lit up the airwaves. Yeah, he's on every day, every week, actually, from 5, and then he hands the baton off to me, blazing sometimes. I'm like, okay, well, he done woke the folks up for me, and I love it. I love him. Shout out to Brother Jay and all the wonderful work he does in the morning. That's right, getting us ready to go have an amazing day. Listen, sit back and relax and grab your coffee. You know how we say Maxwell House or Starbucks. Y'all know my favorite, caramel macchiato. Or you can get you some herbal tea, chamomile. By this time now, y'all should have already gone to the grocery store and asked the man for some chamomile tea, especially in the evenings. You know, in the evenings when you're trying to chill, chamomile is wonderful. Or since it's the morning, you can get you some green tea and get your body, give you a little, give you a little caffeine boost, and kind of, it's better. It's a little bit better than coffee. It's more easier on your system. Or you can just get some alkaline water and refresh those cells and get that body, those systems moving and that blood churning as we get into the culture on this morning. What a wonderful Wednesday morning it is. Let's start off a little stormy, a little overcast today. Nonetheless, it is a good day to be alive. It is. It is a good day to see the sun working its way through the clouds. It's a great day to take a drive and, look at all the greenery and all the stuff. Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful. Sometimes we complain so much that we forget to see exactly what God has done for us and just moved us to another day. Yeah, sometimes we get beside ourselves. I was trying to be nice the first thing in the morning. But yeah, we get beside ourselves and like always complaining. Listen, don't waste your life. Don't waste your time complaining. I am telling you, something great is on the way. Can I say that again? I said something great is on the way. And so you have to position yourself every day just to believe that if yesterday wasn't it, guess what? Today is going to be an amazing day. Yeah. Listen, we're back to this week's topic, and we're talking about Black fatherhood, men, mandates, and myths. And we started off yesterday, and we had a lot to say, and I think it's very important, even as we lead up into this Sunday being one of the greatest holidays on the face of the planet, Father's Day. Yeah, as we lead up to Father's Day, I think it is important for us to have this conversation, because a lot of people, and I'm going to be talking about that in a few minutes in my centering moment. A lot of people have, perspectives and different, understandings of what father is, what daddy means, and all those different kinds of things because of the experiences that we've had. And we took a little bit of time on yesterday, kind of dispelling some of those myths. And I think it's really important that before you base your entire perspective and your entire life and thinking that just because you may have had a not so good experience, a terrible experience really, with your father or with men, don't try to make that something that is universal, or don't try to, put that in ubiquity and make it everybody, every man, every father, right? I think it's imperative for us to really understand when our relationship with our fathers and our dads are so very important. And I want to say that for those of you who have a father, I want to say that for you, which is everybody, you have an active father, you need to know that and appreciate that. Number two, if you have a father, but he's not been active in your life or not as active as he should have been, there's still a level of appreciation that you should thank the Lord for at least allowing you to get here. Or some of you who don't even know your father, I think it's a particular interesting idea that when you don't know your father, you don't respect or appreciate your father, there's some level of missingness that's there. It's always there in your life. And so I want to encourage those of you who find yourself in a place, and maybe your father's deceased like mine. You have memories of love. You have memories that you can cherish. This week, it comes with a little bit of tears, a little bit of soreness, and a little bit of sadness, but nonetheless, you can still celebrate the fact that you had a relationship. And so that's very important, in today's society where we've already told you that men, and especially black men, are, suffering from the effects of mass media misrepresentation and systemic racism that still goes on in this country. Now, there will be some that says, you don't have to always talk negative. Well, number one, I don't always talk negative. Number two, if I'm going to come on the culture call, it's always going to be the truth. I'm going to always give you all the perspectives so that you can be an educated listener, right? That, yeah, we're going to laugh. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great conversation. But it is, part and parcel of my duty to make sure that I tell you the truth. And that is the truth, right? When we look at a lot of the things that society says that men are, and so what our history says that men are, and what they can and cannot do. I think it is very important for us to get the whole truth. Let's dig inside of it, right? I told you yesterday that it is my thought that most of what we believe, it doesn't matter from church to community, most of what we believe is inherited and not investigated. Let me say that again. Most of what we believe is inherited and not investigated. What does that mean? That means inherited means that somebody told you, you heard it somewhere, you may have experienced it in your own personal life, you may have seen it from someone else, but you didn't dive deep into it. That's what it means investigated. You didn't do a forensic study. You didn't go down the path and figure out, why did this happen? Not just what happened to me, but why did this happen? Not just that my father was absent, but there is a why always connected to both functionality and dysfunctionality. There's always causation there. There's always a reason why. And one of the things that you've got to do, even on this week, as we push into that a little bit, is, challenge your bitterness, challenge your perspectives, challenge your uneasiness, challenge all of those things that you may feel when we talk about fathers. Challenge it. Don't just let it reside there. Challenge it so that you can begin to ask some healthy questions and say, why does this exist in my life? Or why did this happen? Because what you will find out is that, no excuses when I say that our fathers were products of dysfunction. Our fathers were products of fatherlessness. Our fathers were products of people that abused them or did not hear them or did not give them value, worth, and identity, in a clear perspective of who they were in the earth. And so, I always try to help people, begin to see their perspective in a different way. Not that I'm saying that it did not happen to you. Not that I'm saying that it's not important. Not that I'm saying that it could have been a better way. What I am saying, however, is that each and every one of us, before we just allow feelings and bitterness and unforgiveness to exist in our lives, I believe that we ought to dig into it a little bit more and find out, what just really happened? What went on there? What caused that? And if we can't do that, then we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, now, if I'm going to want forgiveness, if I'm going to want these things, my children or whatever to forgive me, if I want, better for my life, then I've got to stop self-sabotaging myself with the things that I allow to exist that I don't investigate. So I think that's very important that, I'm going to help you, push you in a healthy way, the healthiest of ways. That's what I want to say. And making sure that we are whole, because again, I believe that all of this helps community. All of this discussion helps our community move forward in a healthy and a successful way. So we are, this week talking about Black fatherhood, men, mandates, and myths. Today, I want to talk about what men want. Yeah. Not just just from a fatherhood perspective, but I'm going to talk about holistically what men want, because I think we need to start off with some stepping stone and some building block that we can get at least a different perspective of what we have thought, what we have been taught, communicated, and if we don't do that, then we're not going to ever become healthy. We're never going to become the people in which, by which we need to, help our children do better or do better by our children and teach them the right way, right? So this is very important. My centering moment today, so come on in the room. I want to talk about, can a man have peace? Can a man have peace? I'm already starting. Can a man have peace? One of the things that I think is very important as we start off this morning's, talk and conversation, is we always hear in society, and listen, please, again, we always hear in society what women want. And if we're not careful, one thing about society, that it never finds a balance. The culture really never finds a balance. There's always polars going on, and they don't really pay attention to the people in the middle, and the people in the middle ground with regards to what they want until it's election time. And those people are what they call independents, right? But after that, the media, the news, everything, we think in terms of polarity, right? Conservative, liberal, right? We always think in terms of how the pendulum swings from left to right. And one of the things that has happened, especially in this country, since the feminism movement and the womanist movement, it has always been about asking this question, what do women want? Because for so long, women have been second-class citizens with regards to their desires, their agency, their worth, their value. And so I give a lot of credence to that, to the strong, amazing women who have spoken up, from the Shirley Chisholms to from Sojourner Truth to Shirley Chisholm to Barbara Jordan, Coretta Scott King. I mean, we could go down the list of a whole lot of people, Betty Shabazz. Even in our own families, we understand that, women literally have kept it together, especially most times in the absence of men, right? And so that is a swinging of the pendulum way to the left, right? And because now the society is all about what do women want, right? Women swing elections. Women put, a lot of women, they put, who's in control, in power, right? There would not be a President Trump or President Barack Obama without the tremendous swing of women. I mean, that's just the bottom line, right? Because at this particular time and juncture, it is what, women want. And I understand that because that comes out of a rebellion, if you will, or a revolt against this paternalistic, misogynistic, chauvinistic, male-dominated society that looks at what white men want in particular, right? I think that's important to note there, because the way of the world has gone the way of the Caucasian male, right? That's just, truth is what it is. And so there's women that have raised up in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and now that we're here, it's all about, hey, what's going on for the woman? How can we bring equality? How can we have an egalitarian society? How can we, make sure that there is no, and I think this, and I will say this as a statement of just truth. How can we make things more equal for women, that there is no difference? I think that is patently false and ridiculous, because there are differences between men and women. I don't think that in the biological terms, in physiological terms, psychological terms, emotional terms, those things that are inherent to the being of the individual, there are differences between men and women, right? And to not distinguish that is some kind of psychosis going on there, and you relegate the beauty and the distinction that God gives between men and women. You relegate that to the corner, into utter darkness, when you don't want to be able to tell the difference between, right? Now, I'm going to leave that there, because I'm going to come pick that up back in another couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, because I want to pick that up there, because that's something big that's going on in society. And I think we need to have a conversation about that. But, you got to have, that's a grown folks conversation. So, then there's that. And so in that, the society is trending. There's still a lot of masculine paternalistic holes on it, but society in and of itself is trending to be feminine. And nobody is really asking, what do men want? They're not asking that question, because in society's mindset, men have always gotten what they wanted. And that is not always true, particularly for the black man, particularly for the African American man, particularly in particular for the black father, right? The uncle, our brothers, our nephews, right? That has not been the place where they start if you are a black man, right? That we have been in a condition, orientation to serve. To serve and to lead. And unfortunately, there is some level of toxicity there, because I think black men in some instances, especially in the church, have borrowed from white men in terms of how they lead. Not that they lead, but how they lead with such a machoism and in such a oppressive state. Right? And dictating, to women what they ought to be from a very Western and very Eurocentric aspect. I think that's something that we have borrowed even in our black churches, where women, again, are treated as second-class citizens and servants. Yes, I understand all that. But as a society and as a whole, No one is asking, really, what do black men want? Because society already has determined that black men are not worthy to be asked that question, number one. Number two, they're so strong and need not a voice that why do we have to listen to black men? Why do we, what do they want? Why do we need to know what they want? They just, go to work, treat us well, take care of your family. And so everybody's placing this tremendous demand on black men. I get it. I understand. As a man, everybody's telling black men what they should be. Everybody's telling the black men how bad they are. Everybody's telling the black men, about the drug rate and about crime. And everybody's calling him out his name and all these kinds of things. Everybody say he's unfaithful in relationship and he's hypersexualized or all of these different kinds of things. Everybody has a claim and a definition for the black male, and no one has stopped to ask, what does he want? No one has asked, what does he need in this changing culture, in this culture that is resolvedly oppressive to him and suppressive to his nature, his being? No one is really asking black men, what do you want? I think that's a travesty. I think that is a failure of society, especially with regards to our community, right? We assume because of the macho bravado that is portrayed in the media, we think that black men don't have a need, when in fact that is patently false. You see, when I talk to black guys, when I talk to black men in my church and outside, I have friends, and when we sit down and talk, we talk about, society, we talk about church, we talk about sex, sexuality, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about entertainment, we talk about relationships, right? And especially when I get around, men who are in relationships, they say the same thing. That, man, bro, at the end and the beginning of the day, I just want peace. I want to be in an atmosphere that's void of conflict and void of drama. I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to be overwhelmed all the time. I want to be heard. And what you will find is that because black men are in a spectrum. There's a spectrum of how they act and how they respond to the world, that that they want to be heard. And sometimes it takes black men a while to put their words, to articulate their emotions into words. And so, because of the attention span that they have for black men, then if he doesn't say it in a certain time, then he's ignored or he doesn't know how to communicate. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But so all of these things are placed on him. What he's not doing. He's not taking care of his children. He's not there enough. He's not all this. And he's like, when I walk through the door, there's always something. If it's not these nonverbal bills and mortgages and all these other things that I have to take off, then there's this my verbal woman, my verbal relationship, my children. My job is placing demands on me. I just want peace. Peace. And regardless if you know it or not, peace is very valuable to a man. And one man said, listen, I don't think men had peace since God created woman in the garden. I was like, bro, no. But I understood what he was saying. As hyperbolish as that might have been, full of it, really. Yeah. His thing was, where can we go to get peace? Where can we go to be understood? Where can tranquility and calm meet us? Why does everything have to be a fight and a warfare? Who's going to stroke our head? Who's going to rub our backs? Yeah. Whose chest and breast can we lay in and say, hey, they say it's going to be all right. You did a good job today. When do we get accolades? That's what they say to me. I'm like, bro, that's a good question. That is a good question. There is nothing like, hear me now. There is nothing like a man coming into his home and finding it peaceful. And if he has a wife or a significant other, there's nothing more peaceful than her embrace and laying his head down on her breast and her just stroking his head and not saying anything. just glad to see him. That is Eden to him. Let me say that again. That is Eden to him. Now, you ain't got to pay me no attention, and you ain't got to pay me no mind. But can I tell you, that is Eden to him. And the more that he gets that, the more that he will be able to see, the more that he will be able to express, the more that he will be able to trust his environment. Because you're not just placing demands on him. You're allowing him to evolve. You're allowing him to be the priest of his house. You know? That's powerful. You know, my bishop said something. We were eating dinner, and my pastor said something to me, something to us, because all of us were eating after service. And he said this past Sunday, he said, you know, part of what makes a man is when he can be a priest of his home. God knew what he was doing when he said the man is the priest of his home. That he's the worshiper. He's the praiser. He's the man that sets the order and the tone of a law for his home. He's the priest. He's the one that God speaks to find, that it puts him back in a state of rest, right? When men are allowed to be priests in their home. And that's important. That's important. That when we talk about what can man have peace, yes, he can, but it's a collective work. It's a combination and an amalgamation of community appreciation coming to him. It is wonderful. It does something to a man when he can find his wife, his children, his friends, and everything around him does not always present to him confusion and calamity and chaos. Because what that says to him, that's not saying to him, oh, boy, that's because you're a problem solver and you're supposed to be a problem solver. Today, what if today I'm just as much as confused as you? Can I be at peace then? What if today he's searching just like everybody else? What if today is his day where he needs to say, you know what? I just need to breathe. I don't know. Can he be safe saying, I just don't know? Is a man safe? Black men, is it safe for him to say, I don't know what to do next, babe? And you pray for him. Instead of saying, how you mean you don't know what to do next? You're the leader of this home. It's not like he don't know he's not the leader of this home. It's not like he doesn't know he's the man. It's not that he knows that, which is why it's frustrating to him to be able to say, I don't know. And depending on the environment's response, men will make up something. Yeah, men will make up something. Just to be able to say, hey, you know, to create peace. Okay, let me figure it out. You know, they'll make up an answer, even when they don't know an answer, just so the people around him can chill. Don't neglect that inward part of that man. Yeah, and understanding that a part of who he is, a part of where he finds God in him, it's in the atmosphere of peace. And I know we, especially those of us who love biblical characters, historical characters, and we see men always moving, men always at war, men always in leadership, men always moving. Yeah, I get that. I understand the caricature that we have of men, but a man is not a man until he can find his place of peace, because within that place of peace is where he finds God. And whenever a man finds God, guess who else he finds? He finds himself. It said, this is my centering moment. We're going to be talking about this all day. What men want. You need to make sure that you are right here. Tell everybody. Y'all better turn on. Bishop is getting ready to drop some science on us today. Right here on the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 FM. It's going to be a wonderful Wednesday. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And And we are back right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 FM on this wonderful Wednesday. Listen, we need you to pay attention to what's going on in the weather. The weatherman says it's supposed to get a little bad, a little terrible around here. You know where we live at in Tuscaloosa, so we got to be mindful of the changing weather patterns. They're looking for some possible tornadic activity today. So make sure that you pay attention. As you're listening to the Culture Call, keep your eye open for sirens and alarms and find out and identify where your safe spaces are just in case you may need to go there. That's right. And we'll keep you informed as we are informed right here on the Culture Call. All right. Good deal. Listen, we're having a wonderful conversation already today. I already know it's provocative and, because we don't ever really give a full credence to what it means to ask the question, what do black men really want? And we gave a historical perspective in our current cultural context of why black men are not heard. Now let me say some things. The culture has a way of creating definitions that are skewed to a particular place. While I'm in seminary, getting my degree, one of my professors said something. We were talking about different kinds of Bibles, NIV, NKJV, KJV, NLT, NRSV, all those different kinds of, translations. And he said something. He says, what I need you all to keep in mind, here's this, and I'm going to apply it to today's culture. He said, what I need you to keep in mind is every interpretation or every translation is someone's interpretation. Let me say that again, that every translation is someone's interpretation of what the original text means to them and how they would say it and how they view the language, right? In other words, they try to limit the language to the language in which they know. Right. In other words, they're reading and they're interpreting Hebrew, Aramaic. They're reading and interpreting Greek into English, but they're interpreting it from their English or Western perspective. Right. They're not looking at the text through Eastern eyes. The Bible and the Scripture is an Eastern book. It's not a Western book, but mostly the way that we receive it. The book is interpreted from a Western perspective, right? And see, when that happens, their translation is really their particular perspective and interpretation of what those people were saying, And so when he was trying to just cautioning us, when we say, well, the Bible says, he says, no, the person that interpreted the Bible says. Because did you read the original text? No. What we do, though, is we assume that the person that wrote it down, you see what I'm going with this? The person that wrote it down had the best intentions and gave you exactly what the text said. No, they gave you what the text said based upon their interpretation of what the text said. Now, what does that mean? That when we begin to talk about what men want, we also come with the perspective of what society and culture and people have said. We say what history has said. We say what our experiences have said. We say what happened to mama or happened to our auntie or happened to our sister or, have said. We said, we interpret from we translate from the interpretation of our own experiences, and then we begin to garner or have a viewpoint or a perspective that this is exactly what it is, right? And so much akin to when we say the Bible says, we should really say, this person's interpretation of what it says, especially if I've not done any study. See, I've not done any study. And so that was one of the things that my Greek professor taught me, is that you got to read and then you got to unread and then you got to read again. And one of the things I think is important as we talk about men, black men in particular, I think we need to read again. I think we look at these young boys grow up in a culture and an environment of fatherlessness, And they grow up, no offense. Hear me. No offense when I say they grow up extremely mothered, and they grow up without fathers, right? And they have a particular perspective. A particular perspective is garnered, right? And their emotions are shaped a certain way. Their worldview is shaped a certain way. So when they get to the place of ownership, they get to the place of responsibility, they get to the place where they have to make adult decisions, they are literally trying to interpret the world in a new fashion. They're trying to use your translation of the world, right? And your interpretation of the world and make decisions. And so what we're finding out is that the culture has given black men in particular these set of norms, these set of definitions, these sets of translations and interpretations on how they are supposed to be and what they are supposed to do, right? And that can be very confusing to a man who doesn't feel grounded within themselves. We try as parents to do our best to make our young men feel grounded, but they lack a certain skill set based in terms of what society says, and that skill set is communicating who they really are and what they really need, especially with regards to relationships. We already have, again, this interpretation of a man and what that looks like and what that is and what he is and what he should be doing and what he is responsible for and obligated for, right? And so we hold him to the standard. And so you have men that are reaching and grasping, trying to fulfill this standard that they know that is over their head and that they're being measured by with regards to their value and their worth. And can you imagine the frustration it must be for them to feel like I don't have the particular mechanics, I don't have the right tools, I don't have the right, techniques, tactics, technology to be or to reach this level of what has been placed upon me? Right? Do we ever think about how frustrated that little boy feels that has rhythm in his body? I mean, you tell him, be still. Do you know how frustrated that makes that little boy? Do you know how? And then when that motion and that rhythm and that energy in his body is not imprisoned or not controlled by the outward rules and regulation and tendencies of what we say is standards or adults and all that, then we try to sedate that action and we end up damaging his mind and his being. Do you know how difficult that is? That when his teacher ignores him, right? Or does not have the best view of him because he does not line up with her definition. And normally it's her definition of what a black little boy should be. See, disenfranchisement starts out really early for black men. And I think that's something that we need to consider. That it starts out really early and we allow it to go on because, yes, we aid and abet the control of black men. Because whether we say it or not, we think, or there's some sectors in society that teach us that black male energy needs to be controlled. It needs to be controlled. They did it to my son. They tried to anyhow, but he had a black father. Which was, that wasn't definitely gonna happen. Yeah. His mother was a champion, but he had a black father, and that was definitely not gonna happen. Because he was experiencing the world differently from everybody else. And here's the truth of the matter. Black men experience this world differently than everybody else. Let me say that again, because I don't think y'all heard me. Black men experience this world differently from everybody else. And you know what else is the frustrating thing? They feel like nobody cares about how they experience the world. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about how his day went. Nobody's caring about how he feels in terms of what people look at him. Nobody's concerned about that. Nobody's blowing up, and putting forth any kind of legislation. None of that. Nobody's, creating programs in school that's addressing how black boys feel as they grow up and matriculate through this American westernized educational system that they have already picked and chosen who's going to make it and who is not with their school to prison pipelines. Nobody's asking. So imagine the frustration of black men. Imagine that. I'm talking about from a little boy all the way up to, 50. Nobody's asking him that. Nobody's asking him how he's dealing with being overlooked for promotion, overlooked for jobs. Nobody's asking him that. Everybody wants him to communicate. Everybody wants him to say something, but nobody wants to listen to him as he says it. And what happens when you don't have language? Right? Because language is the thing that shifts reality. Language is the expression of reality. If I can't describe it or tell you or communicate it with any kind of language, how will you even know that it exists? Right? That's important as we begin to have these conversations about what black men want. They want, like every other human, to be heard. They want to be heard on the level of their frustration, the level of their emotions, the level of their futures, the level of their dreams. They want to be heard too. Yes. They don't want to be caricatured, right? They don't want to be labeled as this and labeled as that. That's not what they want. They want to be given the ability and the opportunity to say, I'm afraid, like everybody else is. They want to be able to be vulnerable and be protected as well. And a man being protected, yes. Yes, absolutely. He wants his vote to count like everybody else. He wants his merit and his education to be merited with promotions and achievements just like everybody else. And the assumption of the culture, the assumption of society, and dare I say, even the assumption of our own community, put black men in a place to where they have no platform to communicate. They have no platform to be able to say one single solitary thing. One of the complaints I get from a lot of women is that black men don't want to talk. I talk to women all the time who read my book, Getting Ready for Love, and they were like, Pastor Bishop, this is a great book, but where are those men? And I heard something that was so provocative, and I shifted it on them. I said, well, is it that he can't talk, or he's a poor communicator, or are you a conversation bully? and of course, they look at me much akin to perhaps how you looking at this radio right now, looking like, wait a minute now. No, seriously, real talk. I asked the question, are they really poor communicators, or are you a conversation bully? Like you ask him to say something. You talk to him, talk to me, babe, talk to me, son, talk to me, nephew, and you set all the parameters. I want you to talk. And hesitantly, they start talking. And the moment they either talk too slow because you want immediate answers, you want immediate interaction because, of course, you've been practicing talking all your life. Yeah. And so he's trying to formulate his words so not to offend, because he knows that if he offends you, the conversation is going to be over, because there you go. You're going to hijack it. You're not going to even sit there and process what he says. You're not going to give him a time to say, okay. No, you're going to conversation bully that thing, and you're going to turn that conversation into something that is about you. Yeah. It's going to be about you today. Right? Well, the way I see, I see how okay. Well, now you've stolen the moment of conversation from him, and then you're going to complain that he don't communicate because he's not communicating correctly. You know why? Because he's not communicating in a way that you can agree. I'm talking specifically to ladies now. Are you one that's going to hear him when he does communicate? Are you one that's going to hijack the conversation at the point of disagreement or the point of offense? Are you going to turn what he says on him just because it's not your perspective, or are you going to allow him to get his perspective out? Woo, woo. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Ain't that a good question? I thought it was a good question. I think it's a wonderful question because I think that it's something that we've got to answer. And if we don't answer that, we're going to have silent black men, frustrated, high blood pressure, stroked out, leaving, departing, trying to find one word, peace. Something that understands. And then, not saying it's right, and then when he finds somebody on his job that's going to let him get the conversation out, then you get mad. Well, how come you talking to her? Okay, because she lets him talk. Because she provides that space where he can release his emotions. And he can't get that with you. Because every time he says something, first of all, it takes him a while to say something. And then when he does say something, here you go, being a bully. Here you go, hijacking the conversation. And I know right now, you want to turn the radio off because I didn't tune into the Culture Call to hear about this today. I know it, but guess what I know? I also know you're nosy. You're too nosy. You want to know what I'm getting ready to say. You want to know what I'm going? Yeah, absolutely. No problem. I'm good. And so one of the things that's very important is what men want is they want the freedom to be able to communicate on the level that they live. That they don't want to be measured they want the same thing that women want. Women say, I don't want to be measured by this, and I don't want to be measured by her, and I don't want to be next by that. I want you to allow me to be me. Guess what? Men want the same thing. The exact same thing. Right? But here it is. Men are held to the standard of performing it immediately. Yeah. He doesn't want to always be measured by the guys you see on TV or your pastor. He don't want to feel disrespected, and then we want him to come to church. But you didn't disrespect him because every time you say something, well, pastor said, Rev said, such and so forth. Well, when you gonna listen to what he says? He says, yeah, I teach that. I believe that. I don't just preach and teach so women can go back home and use it against their husbands. That's not what I do. Absolutely not. No. I teach like I teach so that we will all know our particular roles, not rank. I said roles, not rank. I said roles. When we are with each other. But men want to be heard. And if they feel like they're going to be heard, guess what they will do? They will communicate. Men will speak up. They'll tell you what's on their heart when it's not going to be used against them. Because ladies, if you use what they say against them, then guess what? You may never get him to communicate again. You have got to be a safe space for him to communicate. 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app. That's right. 205-752, you can call, 752-4800, you can call in, or you can hit me up on the app that you downloaded on your phone. It's going to be an awesome day. I've got so much more to talk about. That's right. You stay right here and don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back. It's the top of the hour, 11 a.m. on this wonderful Wednesday morning right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. That's right. It's a beautiful day. In spite of the inclement weather pronouncement and all of the alerts that we're already hearing, I want you to pay attention to what's going on around you in the atmosphere, making sure that the weather... that you keep your eye on the weather, rather, and be alert to see, if any tornadoes or any other kind of extreme weather would come your way. Make sure that you're keeping an eye out on that, wherever you are in, Tuscaloosa or surrounding areas. Yeah. And so all of you who are listening to me other places in the country, definitely send up a prayer for us. Even as we, it's going to be a great day anyway, but we want to make sure that we all stay protected in this inclement weather warning. Yeah, so they've already issued that out, so we definitely want to make sure that you do that. Listen, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app on this important conversation. I think it's going to be great today. And, you can definitely talk it up with me. Listen, we've been talking a whole lot about what black men want, and I think it's very important conversation because it's not a question that's normally asked. It's not a question that's normally asked. And, I always think about two sides of the coin, because it is also about what black women want. But when it's their time, we talked about that. We sure did in great lengths. And so this time, we very rarely talk about it because there's something in our minds that we think we know what men really want because of, again, the caricature and the media persuasion that we normally see. But the reality is that black men need things. They need some things that they don't always get an opportunity to communicate. And I think that's a travesty. But I think in so doing, we give ourselves an opportunity to learn when we become open to asking the question, hey, what exactly do you want? What exactly do you need? Right? I think that's good. I think that it's very important for us to be able to have those conversations so that we can, better align ourselves with the understanding of, okay, this is the way, this is it right here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then we can move forward working together as a collective community. We can have stronger relationships, stronger marriages, stronger parental relationships when we listen to each other and hear exactly what's on our hearts. I was doing some research about, typing in simple suggestions and questions into the internet, Googling, trying to get ready for this broadcast today. And I just asked a simple question. What do black men want? What do they want? And one of the things I think is very important is that we understand, I told you that a lot of it centers around one word. Here it is. Y'all ready? One word, peace. Peace. I thought I'd spell that just in case anybody misinterprets that peace, right? Right. I didn't say black men want a peace. I said they need peace. So draw your minds in, saints. Yeah, they want peace, a place where they can be themselves, a place where they can show their vulnerabilities, the place where they can be heard, a place where they can talk on, out their frustrations, even if they don't have the best language, even if they don't have the best way to say it. They want a peaceful place where they won't be judged or they won't be castigated or they won't be put in a corner or made to feel like they're immature or belittled, they're or disrespected, right? They want the same things that other human beings want that a lot of times are not given to them. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate because we need to hear from black men, right? But I created a list of things as I began to read and research, a list of things that men really, really want. Yeah. They want this whole idea of stress relief. Stress relief. Yeah. Yeah, that's number one on the list. That because of how black men are viewed in this country, and dare I say even around the world, they face a lot of stress on their daily lives, whether it's from work, it's relationship, or their other responsibilities. And so, black men really, really cherish those moments of peacefulness, those moments of where they can center themselves, that they can release that stress. I think that's very important. Dealing with anyone who's dealing with, stress in their life. I think they have to have a detoxifying place to where they can really release that stress, right? That there must be peaceful places that black men can go that, really relieves that stress. That'll take, pressure off of their health, off of their mind, off of their finances, all of those things that have been mounting on them. I think when they're able to find peaceful places, stress relieving places, I think that is great. I think that's what they said. They need that. That black men said, yeah, according to the research, that's what they need. Peaceful moments. Peace. Peace be still. Right. The second thing is that they need a place where they can, assess their mental health. Peaceful moments help them improve their mental health by reducing anxiety, reducing depression, and other negative emotions. There are so many negative emotions that black men they reserve, they hold on to, and that come to them. And they can't say anything at work lest they get fired. They can't say anything in their relationships lest they'll be looking, somebody be looking for a divorce or think they don't love them. And so now they got to put that aside so I can reassure you that I do love you. I'm just having a moment of, where I'm working on my mental health. They need those spaces where they can relieve mental exhaust. It gets difficult. Let me say this again. It gets difficult for men to have to navigate everybody else's mental, everybody else's emotional, other than their own. That they've got to manage the mental, they've got to manage all this other stuff instead of their own reality. And quite frankly, it is unfair, but that's the truth. That they got to do that with their boss. They got to do that with their coworkers. They got to come home and do that with their wives. They have to do that with their children. They got to do that everywhere else, right? And so they need a place so that they can handle that moment of mental health for themselves, right? That's important. Listen, another thing that men need, stress relief, working on their mental health. They also need a place where they can work on their physical health. Stress and anxiety have negative effects on men's physical health, such as high blood pressure, heart disease, and other health problems. See, when men say, we want peace, all of this is connected. It's not just I'm wanting somebody to shut up. Please don't minimize it to that, because that's not what they're saying. It's not they're saying that I want you to shut up so, I can have. No, that's not. Oh, my goodness. That is not what they're saying. I pray you understand it. What they're saying is that there's a lot attached to this whole idea of peace. There's a whole lot. Let me get my heart right so my heart won't attack me. Let me get my blood pressure right so my kidneys, all those other parts of my life. So I won't develop heart disease because all of these other things. So I need a peaceful place I need to have a peaceful place every day. Every day. That's important. And so, one of the things that you've got to do is provide that peace. Provide that peace for his physical health. Here's the next thing. Peace in relationships, right? Men need peace in their relationships with others, whether it's their partners, their family members, or friends, because a peaceful combination and interaction can help build stronger, healthier relationships. And I told you already that when men have a peaceful connection, and listen, peace doesn't mean that stuff won't go wrong. See, I think that's what people don't misunderstand that. Peace is not a place where things don't go wrong. Peace is a place to where we agree to focus on each other's being instead of the current situations and circumstances. That when we come together and we can align ourselves and we can allow each other to detox and pressurize ourselves properly, release some pressure and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It works better for relationships. It makes me want to be around you. It makes me want to communicate with you. It makes me want to talk to you. You see what I'm saying? It's nothing selfish about it, right? It's nothing selfish about it. And so overall, men have to have this understanding that, this peace in my life, we are all invested in the peace of men. We are all, listen to me, families, black women, please listen to me. We are all invested in the peace of black men, right? Because here's the next thing. When he's at peace, he is more productive. Remember, the whole idea of society thinks that black men are workhorses. Yeah, think that they're workhorses. And you know what and when I say that, I want to stress that understanding, because if you don't get that, that he's a societal beast of burden, and that is whether he's working at a factory or whether he is in an executive, right? It doesn't matter. He's viewed as, black men are normally viewed as beast of burden, that they can handle a lot, they can hold a lot, they can manage a lot, and they don't say anything, you know? That's the whole coin and colloquialism about yes, a boss, right? That it ain't that he has no emotions. To give me more work, boss. That's not reality. Are you hearing me? That is not reality. When you provide a peaceful environment where he can be productive, where he can think, where he can use his intelligence and connect it to industry, his ability to work, where he can think in a peaceful way without judgment. He's given space for his inventive, creative juices to wake up. When he's given that space, right? When he's given, he comes up with witty ideas. He comes up engineering things that makes a company, an organization, and a family that much better. When he has those things, guess what? Then you're going to get more out of him, more productivity. And watch, not because he has to do it, but because he wants to do it. See, if we can get out of this whole understanding that men are Superman, that there's some superhero, and understand that they are human, black men are human just like us. Yes, they're going to make mistakes. Yes, they are. I don't care, but again, if you look at society, black men are penalized greatly, more than anyone, for the mistakes that they make, no matter how big or how small. And society has already said we could care less about the reason. That's what society has said. That's what it has said. It has said we do not care about your mistakes. You should know better. Or we're grading you unfairly. Right? And so black men just kind of, I got to figure this out because I already know that if I don't get it right, if I don't say it right, if I don't do it right, I might be late. I might be left. I might be demoted. I might be screamed at. I might be hollered at. Somebody's going to post about me. Somebody's going to say something against me. And we've got to be very careful about even in the church. Just in case if I got any pastors listening to me, even in the church, we made the church such a feminine society. Oh boy, I'm going to get in trouble now. Well, that's because more women come to church. Have you ever asked yourself why though? Have you asked yourself why? Because it's a feminine orientation, right? But worship should not have to be a feminine orientation. It doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be a place where a man can only be a leader, or a man's worth in church is only to unlock the doors and cut off the lights and do security or parking. No. But when the messaging of the church speaks and caters to primarily empowering women, because we are afraid to empower men, right? And empowering men doesn't mean that you teach them how to be domineering, because that's not empowering them, right? That's inciting them. And when you use the word domineering has the connotation that I'm inciting you against something or to conquer something, and that's not what we are to do. We teach them how to have dominion. But dominion is a man and woman, a male, female. When you read in Genesis 1:26-28, the book says, and let them be fruitful. Let them multiply. Let them have dominion. Yeah, it's a them word, right? When you're teaching dominion, having influence. But domineering is a warfare, military-like word. It's something to, you don't teach men to domineer. You teach them to have dominion. Yeah. He should have to fuss at his wife, fuss at his family. Absolutely not. That's bad teaching. No. Women shouldn't have to be under his thumb for him to have dominion. He leads by influence. Talk to talk, yeah? I said he leads, yeah, by influence. Dominion is like, I want to follow him. He's a man who understands who he is, who God has made him to be. He's a strong man. He's a sensitive man. He's a great communicator. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. And I have he knows how to talk. He knows how to lead. He knows how to handle his business. He knows, watch this, how to follow. Yeah. He knows how to protect. He knows how to project. Yeah. That's what we teach. That's what we're supposed to be teaching. And we don't have to castigate women in order to teach men how to have dominion. I didn't say how to domineer. See, I'm using the words properly, right? You can't find the word domineer in the text. That's not what the word means, right? Because it's a them word. It's a collective word. It's not just by him, a male by himself. It's female as well. So if you're going to teach domineering to him, you also have to teach domineering to her, because the text says let them. Them in every place is plural. Plural. You feel me? It has to be plural. It includes male and female. So there's got to be an empowerment of that we don't look at them as just objects of strength, but not objects of sensitivity, not just a man of strategy, but a man who knows how to caress, a man who knows how to understand and engineer himself so that he can be the best that he can be. How we teach him how to maximize his peace in the world, how to discover that. Yeah. And there is no degradation of, and let me say this to the women, there's no degradation of women because you're designed to give them peace. You know why? Because especially if you are a wife now, a wife is a helpmeet suitable. If the man needs peace, you help him by providing peace. That don't take thing away from your strength, from your agency. None of that. It does not take anything. And we've got to get out of this whole societal definitions and all that stuff that means that if I provide something for you, it takes away from me. See, we've got to get out of allowing the culture and our dysfunctions and our bad experiences defining. Goes back to what I said, translating, interpreting, and defining through your own lens and your own experiences. And now we've got a bunch of dysfunctional people who don't even know how to be in relationship. You know why? Because we keep defining these words wrong by our pain. Yeah, there are great men and there are great women. But guess what? There are not so great men, and drum roll please, there are not so great women. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find a not so great on both sides. But that one person is not everybody. It's not everybody, and neither should we look at it like that. We should not look at it in that kind of in that particular notion. No. We are to provide peace. We are to provide a Garden of Eden experience for one another. Yeah. That if you're going to maintain that peaceful coexistence, then you got to be able to have that one to another. But this is what men say they need. This is what comes out of them having a peaceful context in their lives. When I'm not looked at as just simply someone who is going to, but this is what I want. No. See, the reason why he's demanding and domineering is because people are teaching from a Western perspective of domination. That's a Western perspective. Domination is. Let me say it again. That's a Western perspective of domination. I've got to have something to be under me. Yeah. And see, if we don't address that, see, we've learned a whole lot of bad things. You know, you do what I say do. No, that's not. Dominion is about influence, leading with influence, not leading like you some slave master. That's not what the word means. So, right. And so when we talk about what do black men need, they need that peace because it does something to their personality. It does something to their energy. It does something to the God in them, to the priest in them. It brings them to a place where they begin to respect themselves. What? Yes, because you'll be surprised how many men do not respect themselves. You would be utterly surprised to find out how many men do not respect themselves in proper context. Right? And guess what? It all starts with self. And when he's walking out of the house, when he's walking in society, when he's walking in the neighborhood, when he's walking in a meeting, when he's walking, there's so much utter disrespect. Utter disrespect because they've already painted him as the character of who he's not. You're right? And so I think that's very important as we begin to talk about what men need, what they need. It's important to talk about that. And if we don't, we will back them up against the wall. And if we back them up against the wall, they're going to come out angry. They're going to come out violent. They're going to come out fighting. They're going to come out stressed. Yeah, that's what it is. A lot of our fathers were stressed. A lot of our grandfathers were stressed all the way out. Stressed. Right? And the ones that weren't, Big Mama and Mama, took care of, and they did everything to make him peaceful. We're mad at him and we call her, you just let him do anything and say anything he wanted to say, or you just did anything you wanted for him. Yeah, because you don't have a clue about the secret that God has given, that what happens to a house that has a man that is in peace. Y'all quiet today. But yeah, I'm talking about a man that is in peace, what he is able to provide. Free from stress, free from drama, right? Free to express, right? Free to express his inner feelings, his secrets, his dreams, his visions. How you going to know how to help him if he doesn't talk? And I'm telling you right now, for those of you who want to hear me, he is not going to talk. He's not going to talk if you don't provide a space of peace. He's not going to say one single solitary word. He's going to walk around bottled up with communication for the future, prophetic unctions for his children, leadership skill, ideas, and intimacy and affection, right? That's not even connected to the sexual moment. Because I hear this all the time from women. Oh, he just nice when he wants some. You done said that. Yeah. He just nice when he wants some. He know what to say when he wants some. Well, see, when he's in a place of peace where he can talk, right? You get that conversation that's intimate and not sexual. Let me say that again, because that was a mouthful. Yeah, let me say it again, because some of y'all tried to tune me out right there, but don't tune me out. Open up the ears. Yeah, he wants to talk intimate, but because he doesn't have a space in the place, then when he gets to that, then he talks sexual. And then you're like, well, how come that's the only time he talks about that? How come that's the only time he says that? Well, that's the only time where he feels like you will listen and have peace. And he can have peace. Yeah. I'm so tickled because listen, and the reason why I'm tickled because listen, I know we've had a particular caricature, and part of my job today and this week, y'all, right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. Can I tell you what part of my job is this week? Is to make us see this thing in a different posture. That maybe, just maybe, we've had this thing all wrong. Maybe we've seen them in a different, in a light in which God never intended for them to be. Maybe we have measured them by the wrong tape. We have spoken to them in the wrong context. Maybe black men really are saying something that we are not listening to, and we're gonna have to fix that. We are definitely going to have to fix that. Listen, it's the Culture Call, 205-752-4800. Y'all give me a call, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app. And I will greatly appreciate it. I want to hear what y'all saying, because I know y'all got some things y'all saying in your mind, and I definitely want to hear it. Listen, I've got so much more to talk about, but I need you to keep it right here and don't move. You hear me? Don't move. Go ahead and get rehydrated again. Yeah, because I'm telling you, it's going to be on and popping. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And family, we are back again right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 FM. We want to continue to remind you of the weather, the inclement weather forecast for this region. We want you to make sure that you keep looking out, listening to your radio station, or you can cut on your television. Perhaps the news is on, and they are, giving you updates on what this weather is doing as it sweeps across our city. And I want you to pay attention, close attention to what is going on. Yeah. 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. Or you can definitely, y'all, you can give me a hit on the app, because I promise you, that I'm reading them. I am reading them. And I want to hear from some guys today. That's what I'm going to do. I want to hear from some guys, because I want to make sure I got it right. I know you women are chomping at the bit. Y'all want to say something. I don't want to hear from no women today. I want to hear from some guys. I talk to the women tomorrow. I want to hear from some guys today. That's right. I want to make sure that I'm telling the women how you're feeling. If I'm wrong, then let's fix it up today. But I want to hear from some guys today. I got my boys. I know y'all out there listening to me. So hit me up, 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. I'm going to ask my producer, just let me hear some guys today, and so that I can make sure that I am saying it right. Because sometimes, you need a witness. So, one of you fellas hit me up on the chat, or you can definitely hit me up on the phone call, 205-752-4800. Yeah. I got someone, PB, from right here from Tuscaloosa, says, we just want to be graded on a fair and equitable scale, not a graduated in a sliding scale. We don't want to have to be an angel or be Superman just to barely get treated as human beings. Wow. Thank you, PB. My God. Did y'all hear that? In other words, the guy said, you right. Yeah, we want to be graded on a fair scale, right? That we don't want to just always be listening to women and them telling us what they want and how, and they be graded on this hard scale. Yeah. And then we as men have to have to see them and be sensitive to them. But when we are not perfect and a Superman, then, we slide all the way down to the bottom. I agree with you, PV. That's a good one. Listen, 205-752-4800. Dustin, you are on the air, man. I done called you up. What's happening, man?
Not too much. How are you?
I'm doing great today. What you got to share with us today?
I don't know what we're talking about today. Nah, enjoying the conversation. Let's see where I want to go with this. So, I think, okay, just the experience of a black man.
Yeah.
Very light-skinned black man, but black man nonetheless.
Nonetheless, right.
When it comes to dealing with black women.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Our black women, as a black man, there are a lot of things that we have to come to the table with before anything gets provided to us.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Because, that's going to be a good discussion right there.
Yeah. So we have to come with whatever the requirements are to be invited into the space.
Yeah.
And yet we get to the space with those things. And some of those things are appreciated, others are not.
Yeah.
And to be fair, some of those things we embellish, and then they find out that the real thing is not what it was presented as.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge that.
Wow.
But the one thing that we do ask for is peace.
Yeah.
And it's optional.
Now that I got a man on here so we can ask this question, because there's a lot of ladies I know that are listening. Why do you think peace is optional? Because, a lot of times women think that they're giving peace. They think I am giving him peace. Okay. All right. Right? Because of course you're grading what I'm giving, and that's a no-no, right? But why do you think that is such a difficult thing for women to get over?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. I mean, what is the problem with them not giving men peace? What do you, as a man?
My experience is that I think there is a control issue. Mm-hmm. There is a selfishness issue. Mm-hmm. And there's a fear issue.
Wow. Okay. Well, now, I get the control. I get the control issue. Okay. But what do you think they're afraid of? You said the fear issue. What do you think that they are afraid of, though, Dustin?
I think they're being afraid of being taken advantage of.
Okay. All right.
I think they're afraid of not of what they are giving not being reciprocated or being taken advantage of, and ultimately just being hurt in the end.
Right. But
like they have in the past.
Yeah, but isn't that a reality for
absolutely
for everybody? And so I guess what I'm trying to get,
and that's where the selfishness comes in.
Right. Okay. That's what I'm trying to get understanding to these culture call here, is that it's not just that men are not saying that they're perfect. But to have to be perfect is placed mostly on the men. To have to be Superman, we can't say we're looking for a Wonder Woman. Karen White sang back in the day, "I'm not your Superwoman." I mean, she just flat out told us, and we thought that was just a woman's song. But a man can't say that, because again, the idea is the man is Superman. But if you listen to a lot of people, we're not going to call up who those people are, but if you just listen to a lot of people.
Just listen to them, observe them, see how,
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so there's this fantasy, mindset, that expects Superman, doesn't live in the reality of Clark Kent,
right,
and demonizes the reality of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yet, the reality of the things that they bring to the table that do not progress the relationship, or that causes issues in the relationship, that's supposed to be overlooked, or they did it because somebody made them do it, forced them to do it, or influenced them to do it, like they had no other choice.
Right, their experience has taught them.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the difficulty.
Yeah, listen, and it really is. It really is the difficulty. I'm gonna let you off this line because I don't want you to get in trouble.
Man, I dance in the rain without getting wet all the time.
Man, thanks, Dustin, for calling in, man. I appreciate you, Doc.
Okay, have a good one.
You too. Listen, that's the reality. That is the reality. I was looking at on social media on the break, and this young lady, this life coach, this young black woman was talking about how women oftentimes, don't listen to men, or, how they try to infuse or inflict their perspectives and, as just much what Dustin just said. And something said, because I normally don't read the comments. I normally do not read the comments because you can read those comments and you're like, what? But this time something said, read the comments. And the very first comment was this lady going off on this coach saying, well, men do the same thing. And the coach came back and said, see, here is the problem that men have. She says, and I'm a woman. The problem that they have is you just can't take ownership. You got to put it on both. You got to both sides it, like you speaking for them, right? She said, you're the woman that I'm talking to. She's like, and she kept going on, well, no. And then she started, the attack started being personal, which I thought was kind of hilarious. I'm like, well, how do we even get here? Because instead of the young woman saying, you're right, you were talking about from a male perspective and what we as women could do better, I tried to both sides it. Instead of her seeing that, she was like, no, because men do the same thing. But see, here's the deal. We teach our children 2 wrongs don't make a right until it's that perspective. That's what we teach our kids until, we get into a situation where we're trying to both sides the situation. No, here's the deal. If we want men to sit down and listen and learn from women what they need, right, then should not it be the same kind of parity, the same kind of equalness on both sides when it comes time for men telling women what they need without you having to both sides it? And I think a lot of guys feel that way. And that this is what the chat is saying today as well. Like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what can I say, all this kind of all this XYZ ABC. And, listen, it's amazing. It's amazing how sometimes I think we talk past each other. I think we talk past each other because it just makes us feel good because I just want you to hear my point. Like, no, let alone now, men are good at letting women have their point. Like, they're very great. Like, if I had that Women's Day and I talking to the women, men are not going to call. They're not going to inflect. They're not going to hit the chat. They're not going to say anything. I'm going to get a bunch of women. But the moment that men begin to talk about what they want and what they need, I get a bunch of women calling into the show. I get a bunch of women in the chat trying to tell men, well, yeah, but, and men like, yo, hold on. How does this even work? How does this even work? This is not fair. Right? And again, it's because it's the empowerment of women speaking and men listening. But when it comes time for men to speak and women to listen, women have the notion a lot of times that you've already said enough. You don't have anything else to say. Listen to me. And what's going to happen is you have nobody to listen to you. Right? Because, no, again, that's your experience. That's your cultural context. That is what is happening in your world. And again, if you sit and listen, you will learn. Let me say it again. If you sit and listen, you will learn. Yeah, ladies, if you sit and listen, I don't care how righteous and pious and all that, if you sit and listen, he may not be all that you think he should be. And quite frankly, he may not be all that he's divinely created to be. But here is the reality. When he is talking, when he's trying to communicate, Let him say it, because guess what? You may find an answer that you didn't know if you just let him be Clark Kent and not force him all the time to be Superman, leaping tall buildings in a single bound, stopping stray bullets, carrying you and flying you around the city. If you just listen to what he has to say, you may find out that his heart is really in the right place. He just needs some help made suitable. Listen, this is L. Spencer Smith right here on the Culture Call. It's been an amazing day. We've got a little bit more left. I need you to go ahead and get another cup of coffee, another, a bottle of water, and I need you to stay here on the Culture Call. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
Well, family, we are here at the end of another day. It's been a wonderful day, and I know the conversation has been provocative, and I am grateful that you've allowed me to talk for men. Yeah, it's Father's Day week. Yeah, Father's Day week, and we need to talk up for the men this week. Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, tomorrow I want you to call in and begin to shout out fathers. We're going to begin to shout out fathers tomorrow. So, yeah, I need everybody to talk about them. Yeah, I need you to call about your husbands, your brothers, your uncles, your nephews. Yeah, I need you to talk about how good of fathers that they are. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So, and give considerable space to that. And so, yeah, I want you to do that. Listen, also, I want you to consider to always, please, today at least, pay attention to the weather report, because they are predicting some inclement weather that's going to come through this way. 80-mile-an-hour winds, yeah, and all of that. You heard it. You just heard it on the weather reel. So I don't want you to miss that. I need you desperately to pay attention to that. And go ahead and cultivate and secure your safe spaces in your closets or your basements or wherever that might be. You know, if you're still at work, go ahead and make sure you know where to go. Yeah, because we don't want anything to catch you off guard. We want you to be right back here on the Culture Call tomorrow, safe and sound, right? That's what we want. That's what our desire is. And so we want to make sure that you do that. And also, listen, I want to send a shout out to all of you, again, who've been sticking with me this entire week. Thank you for your prayers. I lost my favorite uncle this past week, and many of you just been hitting me up on social media and telling me thank you so very much for all of that. Keep us covered in your prayers. And know that I receive all of them, right? And I'm also praying for you. I'm praying for you, Patrick, PB. I'm praying for you, Bettine. I'm praying for all of you guys, Miss Joyce. I'm praying for you, Dustin. Everybody that's been hitting me up on the chat, or whether you've been calling, I am keeping you in my prayers as well. That the Lord will take good old care of you as you do what he calls you to do, right? Good deal, good deal. Listen, it has been an amazing Wednesday, amazing hump day, as we would call it, And, I think this is a powerful subject that we're talking about. Thank you for your open-mindedness. Thank you for being able to explore your situation and your relationship with the men in your life. Because I believe that when you do that, when you really do that, your life is only going to get better. So at the end of every phone call that my grandmother and or my mother used to give me, they would say, I love you a bushel and I love you a peck and I love you a hug around the neck until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. This is L. Spencer Smith right here on the Culture Call, Praise 93.3 FM. Y'all be safe and keep it right here. Peace.